Hey guys, welcome back to Cooking with Jen Munoz. These are your ingredients. We are going to be making meatball soup. Here we go. Make sure you wash your hands because you're going to get a little messy with this recipe. First, we're going to go ahead and do our 2.5 pounds of ground beef. Make sure that it's the 80 or 90%. That'll help with it, keeping it together. We're going to start breaking it up so that way we don't have any big chunks that don't get any seasoning. That is very important. Once we've broken it up, we're going to go ahead and add our onions, a half of an onion. I have the other portion for the other part of the video. So we're going to do half an onion, and then we're going to go ahead and grab our cilantro, do half of the cilantro that is required for this recipe. Then we will go ahead and add our dry spices. I had the garlic powder, salt, oregano, and black pepper in this mixture. We'll go ahead and sprinkle it over evenly as much as possible. Now for the fun part, let's mix everything in. Make sure you guys are incorporating every little bit of seasoning and mixing well. Make sure I have a weird bowl, so mine is getting into these little holes, so I'm gonna have to really work it. But please make sure you do mix everything together so your onions and your cilantro get in every little piece of meat. Okay, let's fast forward just a little bit. Here we go. Now that you've worked in everything else, we're going to go ahead and use our 2 eggs. Make sure if you don't have a big bowl, you can go ahead and make a little hole in the middle. It'll help. Also, we're going to put in 1 cup of rice. If you don't want a lot of rice, you can do half. Now let's go ahead and mix. Let's fast forward through this process. Make sure you incorporate every little thing. Mix it well. Alright guys, we're almost there. After that nice little hand workout, let's go ahead and roll up our meatballs. You're going to want them to be about a golf size. So we're going to go ahead and put them between our hands and kind of roll, moving back and forth kind of motion. And you don't want them bigger than your palm. So let's go ahead and do this for every little piece. We're going to do a roll. If you are not comfortable with doing that, you can go ahead and just kind of put them between your hands and squeeze into a circular shape. This is the process of making meatballs. So I'll just fast forward a little bit after this. This is the other process I was telling. Just kind of squeeze in your hands and it'll form a ball. If you have any onion that sticks out or anything like that, feel free to tuck it in just like I did. You're doing great. Thank you for keeping up with me. You did great. Look at those meatballs. On to the next part, making our broth for our soup. We're going to go ahead and do our 3 chipotle peppers with adobo sauce. If you do not like very spicy, please just put in 1 chipotle pepper. That will make it less spicy. Also, we're going to add to this concoction 1 can or 1 pound of whole tomatoes, half an onion, 2 tablespoons of garlic, 1 cube of tomato bouillon, 1 cube of chicken bouillon, half a teaspoon of cumin powder, and the 3 chipotles in adobo sauce. I have a small blender, so I do things in portions. So let's just go ahead and kind of fast forward through this motion. If you have a full-sized blender, throw everything in together. It'll be just fine. Here we go. Now I'm adding my garlic and cumin. As you can see, it don't matter if you have a big blender or a small blender. We're going to add it all together in one big cup. Now I'll be adding the other half of our diced onions to this concoction. Also, I'll be adding our cilantro. As you can see, there's our onion and cilantro, and let's mix. This will turn it into a green type salsa. We're gonna add everything together in one cup, like I said, and we will get going on the next part. In your pot that you're gonna make your soup, you're gonna wanna add a little bit of oil and our salsa. Make sure that you get every little piece of your salsa. You don't want to waste. Let's mix, making sure that our salsa is not burning. We're going to want our pot to be at a medium high. Once you brought it to a simmer, we're going to go ahead and add our water, making sure that our salsa or our tomato broth does not burn. Let's go ahead and add one of our cubes of chicken bouillon, and then we will go ahead and add 1 cube of tomato bouillon. If you want it with more tomato flavor or salt, you can add more salt or more tomato bouillon. Let's incorporate this in. You're gonna want to wait for this to kind of simmer. Then we will add our meatballs. Now that it's come to a simmer, we'll go ahead and add our meatballs. Be careful putting these in because the broth may be very hot. I like to do one by one so I know that they're not all popping in at different times and lowers the risk of one getting burned. You guys are doing such a great job following this recipe. I hope you're having fun cooking with me. Make sure you put all them nice little meatballs that you made in. And then I just give it a quick little mix to make sure that the meatballs do not stick on the bottom. After 15 to 20 minutes, you'll go ahead and start incorporating all of your veggies into your soup. Let's start off with our 3 potatoes that are cut and peeled. Please be very careful when adding your vegetables. The broth may be very, very hot. Let's go ahead and add our carrots. Whoops, one of the squashes fell in. That's okay. We're going to incorporate all of our veggies in anyways. I just like putting them in at different times. After about 5 minutes, I like adding in our squash. I like giving our potatoes and our carrots a good little startup run to get soft. So let's go ahead and add our squash. And now we're going to go ahead and add our 4 celeries that are nicely cut. Give it a good little mix. Whoops, some of the juice already came out, so be very careful. If this happens, you can also take some of the juice out so that way it does not overspill. Put it in a different cup, and then once the soup starts boiling, you can incorporate it back again. Now let's add our can of corn, being very careful that you do not just dump it in really quick because you might spill your soup. Give it a quick little mix, being careful. And now we'll just let this nice little meatball soup just simmer and boil, making sure our veggies are getting cooked. And they are done after 20 minutes, as your fork can break through all these harder veggies. As you can see, we're all set. And voila! Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Thank you so much for coming to Cooking with Jen Munoz, and enjoy your meal.